Good evening and welcome to the weekend edition of Primetime News. We are coming to you live and direct from the Newsfirst studios here in Colombo this evening. I'm Joel Outskun. First, the headlines.
President promises compensation to drought-affected farmers before the Sinhala Tamil New Year. Labour Department representation required at the Mantri Board for the administration of the EPF. Request from the Labour Minister. Seize the assets of those accused of the bond scam before the EPF disappears for good. Request from anti-corruption activists. Indictments filed against MP Namal Rajapaksa and 4 directors of a company owned by him. Mother and 2 daughters killed in Anuradhapura. Acclaimed film director Vasantha Obesekara passes away.
First up in news from the President's Diary this evening. The Alutsahal Mangale, or the offering of maiden rice gathered fresh from the field of the sacred Sri Mahabodhi in Anuradhapura, was held under the auspices of President Maithripala Sirisena.
Today's Alutsahal Mangalya ceremony marked the 50th occasion on which the ceremony was held. The ceremony was organised jointly by the Ministry of Agriculture and the Department of Agrarian Development on the advice of the Atmasthanadipati Venerable Dr. Palleka Srinivasanayaka Thera. The President first paid homage to the Jai Sri Mahabodhi and obtained its blessings. Minister of Agriculture Dumita Disanayak and Minister of Justice and Buddha Sasana Vijayadasa Rajapaksa were also in attendance.
I recall there was a serious drought in the north-central province and Anuradhapura, Polonnaruwa, Ampara, Trincomalee as well as in the north back in 2013. The cultivations failed. At that time, nothing was done for the welfare of the agrarian community in order to uplift their livelihoods. I believe no one else has ever commenced a relief program during the drought period like this government did. Before the dawn of the Sinhala and Tamil New Year, we have released almost 7 billion rupees to be deposited in the bank accounts of the drought-affected people. We will also provide them with other facilities, including providing them with free paddy seeds.
We
did not have high hopes for the last harvest season. We have to face the fury of nature at that time. Though the farmers did have the yield they hoped for, they have renewed faith for this harvesting season.
The Employees Provident Fund, or the EPF, the life savings of the private sector employees in this country, are accessible upon retirement. Now, in the past decade, allegations of mismanagement of the vital EPF have been rife, and Labour Minister W.D.J. Senivaratne had this to say on the loss incurred by the EPF due to the alleged bond scam.
It is clear that the EPF has incurred losses for some time now due to the investment of EPF funds in certain sectors. First, the EPF was used to purchase shares in certain companies. The money invested in some of these companies has been lost today. It is also now clear that the EPF suffered a loss of 11.5 billion rupees as a result of the recent bond incident. This was stated by a central bank official who testified before the Presidential Commission recently. Given that such a large sum of money has been lost to the EPF, we must consider this issue immediately. What I have noticed so far is that while the EPF is governed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank, there isn't a single representative of the Labour Department. Trade union leaders constantly submit shortcomings with the management of the EPF to the Labour Department. Officials at the Labour Department are constantly vigilant on these issues. So I have taken steps to remind the government to include a representative of the Labour Department as a member of the Monetary Board. Initially, we were allowed to invest these funds in treasury bills. Recently, investing funds in the stock exchange was allowed. When considering the position of some of the companies that funds were invested in, we can see that losses have been incurred. We must consider all these factors in the future and draft a plan to securely administer the Provident Fund. It was recently reported that an internal investigation at the Central Bank had exposed a loss of about 10 billion rupees incurred by the Employees Provident Fund. Several individuals who testified before the Presidential Commission of Inquiry noted that transactions in the bond market by the EPF could result in losses.
මහ බැංකු බැඳුම්කර වංචාවේදී අර්ථසාධක අරමුදලට සිද්ධ වෙච්ච අලාභ පිළිබඳ වාර්තා දෙකක් මේ වෙනට එළියට අවිලා තියෙනවා.
There are two reports which have come to light regarding losses suffered by the EPF due to the bond scam. According to a report from September 2016, a loss of 11.9 billion rupees was incurred. Another report was presented to the Monetary Board on the 23rd of March 2017. This report noted that a loss of 9.6 billion rupees had been incurred. According to both these reports, a total of 21.5 billion rupees has been lost. In the 21 months ending on the 30th of September 2016, Perpetual Treasuries had made a profit of 12,988 million rupees. This is the most serious harm that has been caused to the EPF. During the Mahinda Rajapaksa regime, the same Arjun Aloysius sold shares in a chicken feed company that he had purchased for 15 rupees each to the EPF at a price of 268 rupees each. Together, Arjun Aloysius and Arjuna Mahendran are now laundering the money they made from the bond scam and from the EPF. They are printing newspapers, they are buying shares in banks, they have purchased shares in state banks. Not only that, they have made a huge investment in the eastern province with a major liquor manufacturer. In the near future, they will say that all the money stolen by Perpetual Treasuries has been invested by various companies. When the time comes to catch the rogues, if the rogues flee, then all that will be left are the companies. Some of these companies may be entirely owned by them, some may be not. We call on the current governor of the Central Bank, the Monetary Board and the Labour Minister to immediately intervene with the Cabinet and the government to stop them from using this stolen money. Freeze all their accounts. That money belongs to the working people of this country. Give that money back to the working people. Take steps to return these funds to the EPF.
EPF ගිණුමේ මුදල් වලට යම්කිසි හානියක් පාඩුවක්.
Evidence has been submitted that a loss has been caused to the EPF through the bond scam. When there is such evidence, these individuals should be brought before court and held accountable. There is talk in society now that they have invested these funds in distilleries, shares in banks and shares in media businesses. In a society where there is rule of law, persons who should be defendants cannot be allowed to roam freely in this way without facing any kind of action.
සමාජයක සිදුවිය යුත්තක් කියලා.
ඒ මුදල් අවභාවිතය කිරීම සම්බන්ධව ඒ මුදල්
The individuals responsible for these funds, the persons who have misused these funds, are criminally accountable. The officials who acted to invest these funds in a manner that caused losses to the state are responsible for this. Handing over these funds to persons without following procedures established by the central bank is a crime. There is clearly a basis in public property law to file a case in relation to this offence. However, it must be done following a proper investigation. The government cannot say that the funds have been misused by a group of officials and that it cannot be recovered.
The joint opposition commented on the bond scam during a media briefing held today. Meanwhile, on to more local news this evening. Now, the bodies of a mother and two daughters were discovered from a house in Vihala Kalajia in Anuradhapura this morning.
Police made the gruesome discovery based on the tip-off received from area residents. A 32-year-old mother was found hanging inside this house. After the locals inquired, they found the bodies of her daughters in a well located 15 meters away from here. The daughters were aged 4 and 1.5 years. I speak to her daily. Once she told me that she heard a voice from inside the house. When I inquired, there was no sign of anyone.
We
heard the child crying, and when we knocked on the door, it opened. She was hanging right before our eyes. I screamed and ran next door. Then everyone came here. The other villagers found the bodies inside the well.
According to our correspondent in the area, the victim's 7-year-old child was in the house at the time. The victim was married to an individual serving at the Diatalava Naval Base, and locals said that he visited the house a week ago. Police have commenced investigations into the incident.
Indeed, some tragic news there. Now, as mentioned earlier on in the bulletin, the joint opposition commented on the bond scam during a media briefing held today. Well, my producer says that we will have details of that story later on in the bulletin, but let's take a look at what's brewing here in the country. Well, we have Crime Watch next.
One person was injured after being shot at along the Valpola Askiria road in Gampaha. The shooting took place in the Kirindivita area at 11:45 this morning. A group in a luxury car had opened fire at the SUV of a businessman living in Gampaha. CCTV cameras captured footage of the car that is believed to have been used for the shooting. A corpse was discovered at the Hatton bus stand this morning. The remains have been identified to be of a resident of Hatton. The magisterial inquiry was conducted this morning and one arrest has been made. Police have commenced investigations into a homicide of a woman killed after being struck using a blunt object. The victim, a mother of 3, was killed in the Mahavelitanna village in Valikanda, Polonnaruwa last afternoon. The body was found behind the residence and the magisterial inquiry took place last night.
And in news from courts this evening, now the Attorney General has filed indictments in the Colombo High Court against MP Namal Rajapaksa and 4 directors of a company that he owns.
They face charges filed under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act for the generation of money to the tune of 30 million rupees.
The foundation stone for a new housing project under the Gamata Dorindora National Housing Program took place today.
The village to be built in Katuwana Hambantota will be named Didunagama. Housing loans were also presented for 82 houses in line with the event. The President summoned all the trade unions and made one thing clear in relation to the Saitam issue. He said the resolution will be one that will favour free education. Rather than listening to that, the President said there was a strike action by the doctors inconveniencing all the patients. Who initiated Saitam? It was the former regime and they were given 600 million as funding through state banks. I am sad that those who engaged in this strike action were spineless back then and failed to conduct such demonstrations during the previous regime.
And on to a story that we at Newsfirst have been closely following. Now, further information has come to light with regard to possible corruption within Sri Lanka Railways.
Over the past few weeks, Newsfirst has been highlighting that Sri Lanka Railways is in the process of finalizing a deal with American locomotive company General Electric to obtain 12 locomotives for use in the upcountry railway line. It was confirmed to Newsfirst by the General Manager of Railways himself that General Electric handed in an unsolicited offer to supply locomotives for the same purpose back in 2012. Thereafter, in 2013, a group of 4 officials connected to Sri Lanka Railways undertook an assessment and study tour of GE locomotives in Tibet. The members who took part in this tour include Malkanti Jayawardena, Additional Secretary to the Ministry of Transport, B.A.P. Aryaratna, General Manager of Railways, S.M. Abhay Vikrama, Chief Mechanical Engineer, and W.G.T.L. Vikramaratna, Chief Motive Power Engineer. Newsfirst has also learned that the tour was funded by General Electric, which placed the unsolicited offer. Coincidentally, 3 members of the group, the General Manager of Railways, Chief Mechanical Engineer and the Chief Motive Power Engineer, are all involved in drafting the technical specifications for the latest tender, and they are also in the Technical Evaluation Committee. However, speaking to Newsfirst, General Manager of Railways B.A.P. Aryaratna denied that there was any link between the assessment tour funded by GE and the latest tender which is being finalized with GE.
I was a thing like that, but that had nothing to do with this tender. Okay. That was an unsolicited offer they brought a couple of years back. There was a period in former government that unsolicited offers were entertained. Yeah. If then management decided for some senior officers to go and have a look, for the purpose of looking at this, considering the unsolicited offer. It's only one party, no? That kind of thing would have happened. I don't deny. But, however, the Tibet locomotive which is running is not the locomotive we are asking now.
The Joint Council of Trade Unions for Nursing Professions Supplementary to Medicine and Paramedic Services say the discussion last night in relation to overtime allowance were a success.
A meeting with the representatives of the professions supplementary to medicine, nursing and paramedics was held last night at the Ministry of Finance. Minister Ravi Karunanika, Minister of Health Dr. Rajitha Seraratne and several others were present for the meeting that went on until 1 a.m. The Ministers of Finance and Health agreed to remove the unjust anomaly in relation to overtime allowances. We were victorious. Therefore, this will not have an impact on the suspended strike action. We hope that the decision will be enforced soon. Their overtime allowances was included in the Allied Health Service. The government promised an allowance of 1.5 times of the salary. That will cost the government around 2 billion rupees. The ministry has taken on this responsibility with the permission of the Treasury. We hope to provide this allowance dating back from the 1st of January 2016. We had a fruitful discussion. I have spoken with the President, the Prime Minister and the Minister of Health to venture into a new path.
You're tuned on to the weekend edition of Primetime News. Still in local news this evening, now the Minister Navin Dissanayake commented on the developments surrounding the Trincomalee oil tank farm. An accord will be signed with India for the development of the Trincomalee oil tank farm. This will bring a great deal of investments to the Trincomalee district. The Prime Minister is already preparing the drafts for the commencement of a sugar factory. This is a long-term development strategy. This will not be the short-term development marred with theft that was done by the Rajapaksas. This is not development based on commissions. This is people-centric development. A coconut cultivation project on a 25-acre land that was granted by the Seruvila Rajama Vihare in Kantale was launched today. 150,000 saplings were planted, while 500 more saplings and 350,000 rupees each were given to the locals. Chairman of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, Yu Zhengzhen, visited the parliament last evening.
Chairman of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, Yu Zhengzhen, was warmly welcomed in Parliament by Speaker Karu Jayasuriya. Discussions were held between Yu Zhengzhen and ministers at the parliamentary complex. Following the discussions, he attended a special reception at the Speaker's official residence.
China is an old and true friend of Sri Lanka. Ties between our two countries could be traced back to ancient times, as far back as 206 AD. This ancient relationship was fortified in modern times when Sri Lanka became one of the first countries to recognize the People's Republic of China in 1950. In 1952, even prior to the establishment of diplomatic relations, our two countries linked the Rubber Rights Pact, one of the most significant and long-standing agreements signed between China and Sri Lanka. This high-level visit not only signifies the warm and cordial relations between our two countries, but also the firm commitment of our leaders to further strengthen cooperation between our two countries for the mutual benefit of our people. Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, China has proved to be an all-weather friend to Sri Lanka. We are deeply appreciative of China's assistance during challenging times towards safeguarding the sovereignty and territorial integrity of my country.
This is my first visit to Sri Lanka. Since my arrival, I have been accorded a hospitality which I found far beyond my expectations. President Xi Jinping said that we would build this world into a community of sharing future. The more we get to know each other, the more we visit each other, this world will become a better place.
Well, and on to a story that we mentioned earlier on in the bulletin. Now we got the news with us. The joint opposition commented on the bond scam during a media briefing held today.
Central Bank How much was offered to Ranil Wickremesinghe to cover up the central bank treasury bond scam? He lost the case in court. His attorneys drafted a report and presented it to Parliament, saying there was nothing wrong. Evidence is being examined and I am not sure what they will do with it. But interesting facts are being revealed. Central bank officers are providing evidence before the Supreme Court judges. They were afraid to speak up in court because of the presence of politicians. Today they are speaking up without fear. They have revealed how perpetual treasuries was given funding and how there was no interest for it.
The Gammata initiative, which strives to provide solutions to Sri Lankans at every grassroots level, aided the residents of Kudagama in Anuradhapura today. This drinking water project in the Kudagama area in Ramava, Anuradhapura, was vested in the public today. The project was funded by Yoham Thenekon, Sudha Thenekon and Sandhya Thenekon of Central Bearings and Machinery Private Limited, along with MES Pereira and Lalini Pereira. A group of officials, including Lieutenant Commander Susiri Palo of the Sri Lanka Navy, were present at the event held to vest the project in the public. Prior to this, we drank brackish water.
Today is a dream come true. We are able to drink clean drinking water now. We bestow our blessings on all those who aided in undertaking this project.
Acclaimed film director, producer and screenwriter Vasanth Obesekara passed away today at the age of 80. Vasanth Obesekara, who was ill for a period of time, passed away while being treated at a private hospital in Colombo. The final rites of late Obesekara will be performed at the Borella Public Cemetery at 5 p.m. tomorrow. Relatives said the body will be placed at a private funeral parlour in Borella for the public to pay their last respects from 7 this evening. Vasanth Obesekara, who began his career as a teacher, later changed professions and joined with Lake House, the Associated Newspapers of Ceylon Limited, as a newspaper journalist. Vasanth Obesekara made his first mark in Sri Lankan cinema as an assistant director of the movie Sat Samudra. He made his directorial debut with the movie Veskato. He then went on to direct 13 movies including Palangetiyo, Datayama, Diamanthi and Salaluvarama. He was also a very talented screenplay writer. Vasanth Obesekara was the recipient of the award for the Best Director on a number of occasions and was awarded the Singer Lifetime Honour at the 18th Presidential Film Award held recently. The cinema marvels of the late Vasanth Obesekara will be etched in the memories of Sri Lankan cinema lovers forever. Police have made one arrest over the assault of a Chinese national attached to the Mathura-Kathragama Railways project. The Chinese national who was the victim of the attack was assaulted with a sharp weapon at his residence by 3 youth who had broken in last morning. He was rushed to the Mathura General Hospital with serious injuries.
When
the thieves broke into the lodging, the Chinese national had attempted to apprehend him. He was beaten very badly. He suffered lacerations as well. The 3 youth who assaulted the Chinese national had fled after the incident. However, one of them was caught by the locals and handed over to the Mathura police. We are in Sri Lanka for this project and we are disappointed about this incident. We hope the police will punish the perpetrators and the government will provide us better protection. Police said the assailants are between the ages of 25 and 30 and are residents from Kekanadura. Investigations are underway to apprehend the 2 suspects at large. A sailor who was inspecting a fault of a sluice gate of the Nagadeep Reservoir in Badula suffered a tragic fate today.
The police said 4 Navy personnel had gone to inspect the fault upon notification given by the Department of Irrigations. One of the sailors had gotten stuck inside the sluice gate. He was pulled out and rushed to the Urania hospital where he was pronounced dead. The victim was a 34-year-old from Rambava, Mahakanadarava. Police said he was attached to the Oldville Navy base.
He was one of the best divers in the Navy.
He said he was going to repair a fault in the sluice gate. Thereafter I got a call. He was to return home tomorrow. I only got a phone call that he had passed away. I have nothing else to say.
And in sports, it's rugby. It was a victorious evening for Royal College, Colombo, St. Joseph's College, Colombo and Dharmaraj College, Kandy in the Inter-School Rugby League.
Royal College Colombo locked horns with St. Anthony's College, Katugastura in Colombo today. Royal College was dominant from the first whistle and led the way to 19-14 at Lemons and won the game 48-35. Dharmaraj College Kandy played against St. Peter's College, Bambalapitiya in Nithawela today. The lads from Kandy showed a more offensive play to lead 27-9 at the first half. They went on to win the game 35-24. Meanwhile, St. Joseph's College Colombo defeated DS Senanayake College Colombo 72-10.
Well, that's a wrap up this weekend edition of News First. Latest and trending story follows on our website www.newsfirst.lk. Hope you have a great evening ahead. Take care.